Sports Professor Rick Horrow keeping score, the biggest sports headlines of the day, the biggest sports newsmakers of the day. Some of these folks make news in a variety of different ways. Then they ostensibly retire, but they never retire. Then they come back and they run another organization. And we have probably, as I said off the air, the most influential basketball guy this side of James Naismith, but that doesn't even cover everything in his life, and not only his life on the court, on the field, but his Christian values as well. I'm honored to have Jerry Colangelo, a friend. How are you?
Fine, Rick. Nice to be with you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We'll take you back to a couple of things which I'm sure listeners want to know about. First is a fateful decision in 1959 or 60, I'm not sure which, to follow Will Chamberlain out of Kansas and decide to play at the University of Illinois. Right then, you demonstrated your ability to identify a front runner, didn't you?
Well, my plan was to win an NCAA championship with Wilt, and that was in the fall of '57. I was there a semester. Wilt advised me he was quitting to sign with the Globetrotters, and at the moment it broke my heart, and yet I was led to consider transferring. I did, to Illinois. You know, it was meant to be. God had a plan for my life, and one of which was to meet a woman that I fell in love with almost immediately, and she and I have been married now for 56 years.
Well, that is more important than any of these other things on your accomplishments. But one of the rumors, by the way, from a business perspective, is that Michael Jordan took his number 23 after yours at Illinois. Is that correct?
Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Rick. It at least gives me claim to the number. So,
yeah,
it's just a coincidence.
In all seriousness, you do tell a story in your autobiography, How to Play the Game, How You Play the Game, about graduating college and then starting to work at the House of Charles, a tuxedo rental shop in Chicago Heights. This is relevant for a business audience. Tell us why.
Well, primarily in looking at my options, a coaching, teaching position on a high school level, which was one option. Number two, interviewing with some large corporations for management training programs. Or thirdly, go into a small business, go back to my roots, my hometown, play basketball competitively for 3 or 4 nights a week, get paid a little bit of money. That seemed to appeal to me more than anything else. And that's where I got my feet wet. I really did. I learned an awful lot in the trenches, building a business, and there were highs, there were lows, but the more important thing is my presence in the Chicago marketplace kept me relevant, and it led to an interview with someone who had a dream, and that was to bring pro basketball back to Chicago, and I was part of the birth of the Chicago Bulls in 1966.
A pretty successful franchise in his own right. Jerry Colangelo, not only currently the chairman of basketball operations for the Sixers, but a former owner of the Sand Sharks, the Mercury, the Suns, Continental Indoor Soccer League, the Rattlers, the Coyotes, the Winnipeg Jets to Phoenix. We forgot the Diamondbacks. There's nothing I forgot. Grand Canyon University. We don't have enough time for all of this, but obviously you've navigated successfully basketball at all levels and baseball at all levels. Do you have a favorite moment, or is that a fair question?
Well, it's a fair question. I've had many, many big moments, and I've been blessed with that, and I'm appreciative of those moments. And, you know, people would refer to winning a World Series or winning gold medals or winning championships as, you know, the moments to remember most. But I think in my mind, those were all great, and some are better than others. And quite honestly, I think winning gold medal for your country, representing your country internationally on that kind of a stage, is about as good as it can get. But I think of milestones in terms of, I've only been involved with the expansion teams, by the way, so it's all been about building and milestones with each franchise. This position with the Sixers is the first time I've joined an organization that I didn't start. And so, even at my age, Rick, it's something new.
Yeah, but at your age, I mean, you're going to go for another 75 years, so you're halfway through your existence. There's nothing about age and you that's compatible. The only issue, frankly, from your perspective, I guess, is you have image, credibility, really important. Obviously, Adam Silver and others in the NBA feel very confident and comfortable having you involved in the Sixers in some context. They've had a checkered few years, let's say, relative to draft picks and let us say, intent. Very quickly, because that's only part of this, how do you intend to change that as quickly as you just appearing on the scene? I know it doesn't happen overnight, but what kind of management principles are you instilling that will make the Sixers a better organization?
Well, in my particular case, my role as I see it is to mentor ownership, young, new ownership in professional sports, and they've asked me to do just that. Secondly, to do the same in terms of management, to fill in, to make recommendations, to share in the decision-making process as we go forward. The goal, the plan is to build as strong an organization as possible, build a winning franchise that has some longevity to it. And so not to be content with just improvement or making the playoffs, but to be a real contender. So all of the thinking goes toward that final objective.
You have the ability, too, to reflect back on your 9 million years of experience in the NBA and then provide some governance management advice, not just with the existing 76ers, but I assume for Adam Silver, Mark Tatum, and the rest of the organization. If you wanted to wave a magic wand and change something related to the economic structure of the NBA today, what would it be?
I think the economic situation for the NBA is very, very strong right now, and that portends to the new television contracts that have just exploded. It's created valuations of franchises that are off the edge, if you will. I mean, it's just amazing to think about the growth in valuations of franchises, and it goes beyond just the $2 billion that Steve Ballmer paid for the Clippers a year and a half or so ago. The bar has been raised. There will be challenges regarding how the monies are split relative to the union and the owners in the NBA. That I see as the biggest challenge going forward. And now we get back to collective bargaining.
And the collective bargaining, it's not a golden goose. It's a gaggle of golden geese. And it's are you a little nervous about how the NBA risks dividing its riches in the future relative to those TV dollars and the $90 million per team cap that may not be good enough right now?
Well, those are those challenges that I refer to. There's new leadership, of course, with the Players Association, and how that plays out remains to be seen. I would hope that at the end of the day, the real concern or the real focus on the part of both the Players Association and the ownership is that we have a great big pie that we need to split up. It should be only about building and growing the pie. And in doing so, everyone wins. When you go a little bit greedy one way or the other, don't over-negotiate yourself, and that's when issues take place. I'm not contemplating anything like that. There's always that concern, fear, rumor, speculation that may be coming around the corner, but to this point, I don't think I see that coming.
So you sit in Chicago at a Cubs baseball game, and you're probably depressed because they probably lost it. And then you said, let's figure out how we deal with expansion of baseball in Arizona. And then you fast forward to the 2001 World Series where you break New Yorkers' heart. Come a long way, haven't you? Baseball and Phoenix and the Valley and more to come, right?
Well, in 92-93, the Suns played for the NBA championship against the Bulls, and that night at Wrigley Field was the first night game I had seen growing up, a Cubs fan in Chicago, as a Chicagoan. That was exciting. And it gave me a little taste of baseball again. I had kind of drifted away from the game. And a couple of weeks later, I was approached in Phoenix by some leadership in town. Jerry, you're the guy who can make baseball happen. We're ready for baseball. And after due diligence, I made a decision to go for it. A year later, we announced that. And a year later, we were awarded an expansion team along with Tampa. And our first year was 98. And we did win a World Series faster than anyone in the history of the game. And to say that was exciting is an understatement.
Are you happy with where, and you have a little less standing now because you're not in that sport, but are you happy with the direction of where baseball is going economically?
Well, there again, I think the valuations have gone up. The television money is extraordinary. The players' union in baseball is the strongest union of all the professional sports leagues, and that will always be challenging for ownership in baseball. And so the biggest issue for them, as I see it, is the lack of youth playing baseball in our country. There's been a declining number of participants because participants become spectators. And when you lose that initial fan base of interest in the game, that could be an issue as we kind of move along over the next decade or two.
Jerry Colangelo, probably the most diverse sportsman in the history of the world. If that's not an understatement, I don't think it is. How do you deal, Jerry, with the modern athlete? I don't want to overgeneralize, but your faith and credibility and relationships and doing the right thing are so incredibly important to you, and that's what everybody takes away. Are you frustrated by the me generation and the opportunity to say anything, anywhere, anytime on social media that some athletes do not take advantage of the correct way?
Yeah, I'm always concerned about how young people face up to responsibility. I think everyone should be accountable for their actions. I think when people say I'm not a role model, I don't buy that. Not to be specific and attribute that to Charles Barkley or anything, but
sure, not to be specific.
Yeah, but I do think that when you're blessed with ability and you have the opportunity to earn incredible money as an athlete on a professional level, then you need to be held accountable. You need to be socially responsible, and you need to be a good person. You need to be giving back. And so, to me, I do get a little frustrated. Some athletes just totally acting out, and they're so caught up in their own thing, if you will. They're not helping themselves. They're not helping the sport or a league. But, young people are prone to make mistakes. And I think parents and teachers and all the people who are part of a system that deliver a 20-year-old to a professional sports team have a responsibility to try and help those young people cope and deal with all the things that will be coming their way. So there's no easy solution, but it's something that we should continually look at, focus on, and try to make it better.
International audience, are you and Coach K ready for Rio?
We are. I'm a little concerned about Coach K having a knee problem. I think he's going to have a knee replaced the day after the Duke basketball season is over. And
he can use the other one.
He'll probably, move around on the one good knee, if you can call it a good one. But yes, I think all of our plans, all of the things we needed to do in preparation are pretty much in order and in shape. And boy, the clock is ticking. We're getting close. We'll be in training camp in mid-July. We'll break camp and play 5 games in preparation, friendly games with opposition until we leave Houston for our trip to Rio. And I'm excited again for my third run at a gold medal after winning in Beijing in 2008 and London in 2012.
Jerry, finally, of all your lofty accomplishments, I think this one requires and merits special attention. The National Leadership Director of the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame, and located in, by the way, the Colangelo building on Taylor Street in Little Italy, Chicago. I'd be really impressed with that. I assume you are as well.
Anything that you can do for your neighborhood, if you will, and I've always been proud of my heritage. Growing up with my grandparents, Italian immigrants back in the day, I've been proud of that. And so, whenever there's been an opportunity to continue the heritage of our birth, of our families, of our bloodlines, I've always been interested in doing so. So on a national level and on a local level, I've been a strong proponent.
Jerry Colangelo, as usual, thank you very much. Blessed to be with you. Really appreciate it. Rick Horrow, speak with you soon.